Hello and welcome to VistaTalks, interesting discussions with interesting people from all around the world. I'm your host for today, Priscillia Charles, and I am delighted to be joined in Studio 2 today by Alan Duffy. Alan is a localization manager at Vistatec. You're very welcome, Alan. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, my pleasure. Thank you, Priscilla. Very nice to meet everybody too.
Thank you so much. So let's move on and get on with the show. So Alan, we're delighted to speak with you today, and I'm sure that obviously, with the global pandemic, it is an important factor when it comes to delivering, solutions for Vistatec customers all around the world. And at this time, a lot of our global customers are adapting, their businesses with the current situation. So can you tell us, has this impacted or changed the way that you deliver solutions for these customers?
Yeah, I mean, initially what we saw was a kind of a flood of requests, for information gathering or sort of disseminating information to their customers, to their employees. A certain amount of kind of altruistic gestures or different things from customers trying to make a difference. So maybe a little bit more urgency on some of the projects, and then that sort of calmed down a little bit. We've seen some of our medical device customers are diversifying, for example, into new products that maybe help personal protective equipment or something that can help, maybe new ventilators, or they can maybe adapt and diversify as much as they can. I guess we've seen some customers reassessing their budgets a little bit too as a result, and I guess that's something we'll have to keep an eye on. I'm sure everybody in different industries globally is facing the same, and there's a certain amount of uncertainty for everybody, both in terms of what the future holds and how long that's going to take. So I guess we'll just have to keep an eye on that, and we've done all we can to everybody's working from home. We're all keeping safe and well, and I suppose we're just keeping an eye on the situation, hoping everybody else is keeping safe and well too. So so far so good. Fingers crossed, things have been going well. We've kind of weathered the storm a little bit, and there's a certain amount of kind of business as usual for now, at least.
Yes, true. Thank you so much for this. So now let's get to know you a little bit better for our audience who wouldn't know you today. You studied languages, so you've always been really into the language industry, if I may say. You studied languages and economics at UCD University College Dublin, and then you took on the various roles: project management, business development, and throughout your career in various localization organizations. And you then joined Vistatec in 2012. So now I'd like you to tell us a little bit about your journey at Vistatec for anyone who wouldn't know you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to use the word passion, but I guess languages was kind of my background originally, and that's how I got involved in the industry. Even if I guess if I have a dollar for every time I meet somebody and they ask either what do you do or which languages do you speak, because I guess it's difficult to explain, there's sometimes the complexity of what we do. But I guess it's almost 8 years now since I began in Vistatec. So initially as a project management team lead, so we would have been assigned a certain amount of customers and a team of project managers within my group. So some of the principles that still apply now would have been applied then. A lot of the core values of Vistatec and the customer satisfaction, that's always been kind of at the core, and also the people too. I've been very fortunate to have very good people both on the team that I've worked with, but also on the customer side too. So that really, really helps to kind of build those relationships and makes it enjoyable as well. That's kind of a core part of it. I suppose then, I think we've definitely got a lot of, very good people outside of so the technical teams, the sales teams, the marketing team. So working with different groups, I'm always interested in learning, different things. I mean, I have previously worked in different roles in business development and in project management. And I think you can, you always glean something from each of the people that you meet, but also the roles that you do. You always learn. I'm always trying to at least learn and develop myself. Sometimes maybe when things are frantic, it isn't always possible to do a huge amount but sometimes when you reflect maybe afterwards, often you don't realize that you're learning as you're going along. You learn from mistakes, you learn from, new challenges. So it's definitely, it's one of the, because we're in a service industry, things are changing all the time, technology is changing all the time. So it's, I guess, trying to adapt and adding a few bells and whistles to your own kind of skill sets. Just doing what you can. So I suppose it's been almost 8 years. It's gone by very quickly. I think some people have been in the company maybe since the beginning over 20 years, and I'm still seen as a blow-in sometimes, but it's gone by very quickly, which is a good sign. The days go by very quickly. It's, time flies when you're having fun, as they say. So,
Sure.
yeah, I've really enjoyed my time. I said a lot of the skill sets that I had learned were the things that I applied to that role still apply now. I still have, a lot of the same team working with me. That's one of the good things. We have a lot of kind of staff retention as well. Like a lot of the people who've been here quite a long time.
One of the
And
highest in the industry, yeah.
right, and then you can apply the sort of, it's obviously you retain that knowledge that they have, but also the relationships,
Yeah.
so it helps, if you need a favor from somebody or if they need a favor from you, the better you know your colleagues, and the easier it is, to sort of muddle together when things are challenging. So yeah, hopefully that's kind of a little bit of a flavor of at least summarizing my 8 years into a few words. But yeah, it's been great. It's been very, very challenging, and hopefully I'll have plenty more to come.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm sure it sounds like a lot of fun. And now you've taken on a different role since you've arrived as the localization manager. And as you say, you're working with different project managers. Can you tell us, can you give a bit of a few details and tell our audience about your current responsibilities?
Sure. Yeah. So I would say probably just sort of widened my there's obviously a few additional responsibilities for it, but I probably widened my role to managing the department itself. So all of the customers that previously would have been working with, but also all of the additional customers. And then, we have the team leads managing a group of, or program managers, a group of programs or customers, and then the people within those. So, the same principles, as I said, the people and the customers, that's what makes it. There's always some of the boring financial stuff like managing budgets, and keeping an eye on those.
We all have
But
to do that.
yeah, right, exactly, especially now more than ever, probably. And yeah, I think, ultimately it comes down to, we're delivering a service, right? So whatever it is that the customer needs, whether it's a service we've done before or a service that's new to us, making sure that we're meeting their needs, making sure that we're meeting their needs on time, making sure we're giving the right quality, the right level of, whatever it is their stakeholders, that their customer needs. So that's kind of ideally that everything disseminates from that, and then we just do whatever we can. So, keeping customers happy, keeping their own customers happy. That's what's really important for us. And I suppose I'm also involved in a lot of new opportunities. So, new prospective customers that are coming in, and getting involved as early as I can in those relationships to hopefully add what I can to work with the sales team on that, and then maybe to bring in some of the other, the wider kind of teams that we have, the technical teams and the different, like we've got a really good broad range of experience in all the different teams. So
Yeah.
it would be a shame not to use that as much as possible. So always try and draw on the good people, and they know a lot better than me about. I might have a little bit of experience in my area, but making sure that you bring in the right people with the right skill sets. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And so tell me, what do you like the most working about Vistatec? Because you're surrounded by, as you said, people with so many different skills.
Yeah.
So it's such a broad, workforce. So tell me a little bit about like what you like the most.
Yeah, I think for me, people are different. Some people like routine. Some people like, for me, because the fact that no 2 days are the same is probably what keeps it interesting. Because we're technology agnostic, and because we try to build programs, and because customer satisfaction is so important to us, we always find ourselves kind of scratching our heads. How can we deliver this? How can we deliver it better? How can we improve on what we're doing? So I think. Yeah, I think, as I said, I'm always referring back to the people, because I think, I can only do so much. Everybody individually can do it, but collectively with some really good people, I think that's really one of the things as well that's always struck me, that we have such great people. And, not just good people with good experience, because you can have a certain amount of knowledge, but I think it's actually the application of that, the willingness to go the extra mile, the willingness to, to understand what it is that the customer wants, rather than kind of doing it, because you can stick to project management principles, or you can stick to, some technical principles, but at the end of the day, we have to deliver what the customers need. So, yeah, sometimes it's about, within a framework, about kind of being as flexible as we can, I guess, being as adaptable if that required, managing the 24/7 time zone. So whatever it is that that's what a lot of in the industry that we're in. I guess it's such a global industry that I suppose we're just doing what we can but at the same time doing within a good framework, making sure the right people are involved. So I think I think it's a great company. I think we're a good size too, in terms of we have all the really strong infrastructure there in place.
Yeah.
But we also have the good thing of having the executive management team in-house in the headquarters. I think that really helps our flexibility, that we can make decisions quickly. We're not tied over by paperwork. So I think that also, for me, that's kind of liberating, because if we need to get something done, or we need to, it's something that needs to be achieved, we need to buy software, we need to do whatever it takes, we can get it done very, very quickly. And that also allows us to do our jobs, a lot more easily and a lot more flexibly. So I think it all kind of ties together.
Thank you so much. And we're talking about like managing, different roles, workforce, from different countries with so many different skills. So I'd like you to tell us a little bit about leadership, because you are, overseeing, a large team, and it is a challenging environment eventually. So you work with tight deadlines, you manage budget, complex strategies. So do you have any advice, being a manager, in terms of leadership, with your experience?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I guess there's different styles of leaders, and I suppose ideally, if you were, the nirvana is to kind of not have one style and to have multiple styles when appropriate. But I think for me, one thing I've always tried to do is earn the trust of the teams, and kind of lead by example. So if I'm prepared to do something, whatever that may be, then at least people will recognize that, and I suppose I'll earn their trust. But then equally, I have to also to trust them as well, and that's kind of a key thing too. That it obviously helps having really good people, but trusting them to do what they're good at. And having kind of regular meetings and check-ins and frameworks around that. But I think if people have the trust in you and you have the trust in them, I think that kind of symbiotic relationship is very important. I guess, like I was saying earlier, no 2 days are the same. So I think keeping a calm head is always good too, because things can get quite frantic. So keeping your cool and or at least appearing to keep a calm head as well is always a good thing that people people feed off that. I think if they see that somebody's kind of assured and confident, that generally helps. And I think obviously having a certain amount of experience and knowledge hopefully helps a little bit. But I think it only helps, so again, if you can apply it properly, and if people can see that you hopefully sometimes what you're doing, but also that you're empowering them. And I think we always try to promote promoting people from within, or kind of advocating things like that as well, so people can see kind of career paths for them as well. And certainly it could be incremental growth, or it could be sometimes it's a big jump. But I think any kind of trusting people to do, if they've got really good skills, whether that be technical or if they like larger projects. Some people they work better in tighter timeframes with smaller projects, for example, and playing to people's strengths, making sure that they're comfortable in their role as well. There's always a personal aspect to it too, making sure that you're understanding what's going on in their lives too, because obviously it's hard not to bring that into your work environment. So
especially at the moment, I suppose.
Well, exactly. I mean, I'm in a situation myself. A lot of people have young kids at the moment working from home, and it's a challenge. So luckily for me, they're a little bit older, but I think being as flexible as we can now with people, it goes a long way to sort of earning people's long-term trust as well, that they know that doing what you can to support them. That's why I think if I can show, lead by example, if I can get my hands dirty where needed to and help out, I'm quite happy to do it, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to achieve the same thing anyway. So I'm kind of I try to keep things relatively flat structure. There's not too much kind of hierarchical stuff, and just being prepared to do what you say you're doing, and be transparent with people, and hopefully that's, I don't know if that's good advice or not, but that's what I've lived by anyway, so it stood me well. So
no, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Alan. And so as a localization manager, obviously you hire a lot of our staff. So for our global teams, what type of qualities and experience would you be looking for when hiring someone?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, ideally, somebody who's done it before in a similar organization, but sometimes that's always hard to tell, right?
Hmm.
I always find it challenging. You get 1 hour, maybe 2 hours max to get to know somebody. It's like speed
Yes.
dating, and then
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you can embellish a CV as much as possible. So I usually try to base it on kind of experiential questions and things that are, but I think I think if somebody's organized, that's a really good
Hmm.
characteristic, and good under pressure too, because things I don't know if it's I often I use analogies a lot on people sometimes, but I often compare to spinning the plates, and you're just constantly spinning, 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 and
Yes. A
you're
lot
you're
of
just
projects at the same
keeping
time.
everything afloat. Yeah, and if you let one go, I guess then people lose their mojo, and then if you go, and so I think it's constantly keeping everything humming. And sometimes in the past, people were asking me like, what do project managers really do? But I think it's like a lot of jobs. If you only see the value in it when things go wrong, when everything's being ticked along nicely and everything's working, it's sort of, a lot of it is unseen work under the surface, and it's only if something goes wrong, that then and you can kind of unravel it. You can actually see how it can go wrong quite easily. So I think definitely, working under pressure and maybe that calmness that I mentioned earlier as well, and
Yes.
definitely being very organized helps. Um, and Yeah, I mean, you need different level of experience in the team too. You need people who can work on maybe more complex technology or more complex sort of customer programs. But you also need people who, some people don't, some people like the routine, and that's good too. You need, that's probably kind of my microcosm of life. You need people who are kind of slightly different and can adapt to different things too.
Of
So
course, yeah.
yeah, so I think, as I said, it's just, yeah, I suppose if it's really project management, if you look at the principles, kind of planning and organization is the key. Sometimes we don't get to plan as much as we'd like because, we're in the service industry, you have to react. So I think then at least
Very
being
quickly.
organized is kind of number two after that. Yeah. So, but yeah, I've seen some, as I said, some really great people. People have different methods of how to plan and how to
Yes.
document their stuff. But as long as it's documented and shared and it works for them,
Yes.
that's the more important thing. I think the characteristics that the people have, and I suppose there is a certain amount of good customer service as well that goes along with it, and relationships, so it's kind of a varied role. There's financial aspects to it. There's a bit of everything for a project management role, but I think at the end of the day, kind of core delivery of what we do, that's the most important thing, and then the other stuff is kind of the extras,
Yes,
if I
absolutely.
put
Yeah.
it that way.
Deliver quality and
Yeah,
in the right
exactly.
time.
That's fundamentally that's the core part of, we've got to deliver quality and keep the customers happy. That's the main thing. And then, once we do that, then we can, yeah, as I said, the others are kind of all the extras that maybe the unseen, some of the housekeeping stuff that maybe goes unseen. But yeah, delivering the quality, that's the most important aspect, really.
Thank you so much. And so we're talking about like delivering quality for the clients, and obviously, clients have various requirements that can be complex and large in nature. So, and obviously with high volumes throughout the year. So, like, how do you manage with the scale, of like, of requests and the varied approach for each individual customer? Because obviously we have a lot of different customers from all around the world. So every customer has different requirements, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I think there's probably, there's no easy way to like stuff, stuff needs to be documented as much as possible.
Yes.
So we have a good system for documenting the knowledge, and as I said earlier, we promote that. We promote the kind of technology agnosticism, but we also promote, being as flexible as we can. But with that comes then sort of, different processes, different tools, different systems. So yeah, I think just good documentation, good training program, inter team training as well, I think is very important. Um, and again, kind of back to kind of planning and organization as well, making sure that it's all clear. Clarity of what people are doing as well is very important. So I think the if the basics are clear, then I think once the pressure comes on, when people know what they're doing,
There's
was
a
like,
clear understanding.
yeah, it's like unconsciously conscious or whatever. Then once everybody has a clear understanding of what they're doing,
Yes.
then when the pressure ramps up, it's sort of second nature. They know exactly what they're doing. They're very clear about what they're supposed to be doing. So I think that's probably putting the groundwork in terms of the training and the documentation first. I think is a core part of it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that makes sense. And a lot of our Vistatec clients have been through a sales process, obviously, initially. Then there's an onboarding process prior to fully engaging on an ongoing basis, and then working with them with with your area of the organization. So how does this work together in practice? Like,
Yeah, so I mean, I guess like first and foremost, I probably would get an early engagement with the sales team myself in terms of what, what the needs are, what customers are, what are their pain points, and what are they looking for to gain out of the relationship, what is it that they want to engage with to take for. So trying to listen as much as possible there. And then, as I mentioned earlier, like we have got some really good groups. Like we've got a very strong applied technology group looking at automation and innovation. So, can we engage the ATG group? Some very strong technical groups as well, like a workflow team and software documentation testing. So we're doing a lot of multimedia work. I'm seeing an awful lot of videos, like people's content on websites now is kind of less text and more videos. I'm seeing as well, which is a good thing. I guess it's a faster way to deliver the message, and depending on the demographic as well. So we have a very good multimedia team as well, and a very good machine translation program too. So that's one of the. So I think it's knowing when to bring people in at the right time as well, and also knowing the customers. Not you don't want to overload the customer with information, but at the same time, if they need, giving them what they need, or sort of sometimes it needs to be drip fed, sometimes they need it all at once.
yes.
It very much depends on how mature the customer is and how well they know what it is they need. Sometimes maybe they're not 100% sure what they need, so they're coming to us for a bit of consultancy or for guidance on that.
Actually, yeah.
So it's just, as I said, going to work, stronger together. So getting the right people in place and doing it collectively is always a good thing. And maybe one person might deliver the message, but at least the message that they're delivering comes from all the kind of expertise from the different groups.
Thank you. So we were talking about like how the importance about how getting the right people together helps, and it's good to see that Vistatec Global's client base really has been building a long-term relationship and partnerships, for the past 23 years now. So why do you think it's the case? Why do you think customers stay with Vistatec? Is it this strength, about the quality, that differentiate us from other, localization, companies, and getting the right people?
Yeah, I think we're good at building programs. I think we're good at kind of sort of understanding what's required, and then building a kind of framework around that and scaling that up. So if it's something like technology automation that's going to be a key differentiator, that's where we'll focus. If it's customer service and kind of response times, and or sometimes it's cultural, sometimes it's getting the right people from not just time zones, but also the right fit of person.
Yes.
If we're working with some Silicon Valley customers, it's kind of living the brand of that as well. So sometimes that's one of the additionals that I was maybe mentioning earlier with the project manager, that it might not be a core part of the job, but it's actually maybe to the customer it is the core part of the job, because they're not really seeing some of the other stuff that goes on under the surface. So actually the interaction is actually the key, knowing that somebody's listening, that somebody's understanding what it is that their challenges are. I think that's sort of definitely, but I mean, there's so many aspects, I guess, to building a program, building it around the time zones, and
yes.
But I think it's probably customizing that, it's treating each program separately and making sure that we've got all the elements right. And then it's probably it is a continuous thing too, so making sure that we're always checking in, that we're delivering above and beyond, and if there's anything additional that we can do, making sure that we're adding that, not just about upselling services, but actually making sure that we're delivering what it is that the customer needs, and whether that be if they need somebody locally in Japan, or if whatever it is that their particular challenge they might also be having internally as well, that we're meeting those needs too. So I think it's a lot of it, there's expressions like the 2 ears and 1 mouth. So I think listening a lot to customers, listening to what they need, listening to what their challenges are, not imposing our challenges or our kind of processes on them, listening to what it is, and then just adapting and doing whatever it takes. I think that's what we're really good at.
Thank you so much. That's fantastic. That is all for me today, and I'm really thankful for your time, sharing all this knowledge, experience, and what you do on a day-to-day basis. I just have one more question. Do you have anything to share with our audience today? Any project you'd be working on? Anything, you know, outside of Vistatec you'd like to share for our audience, you know, get to know you better?
Yeah, that's a good. I always wondered if I had the hobbies I used to have when I was younger. I probably don't have time for. And actually, I see some people now. They're taking up baking. They have too much time at the moment, and I don't know. I'm seem to be quite time poor. It's probably more I'm adapting to the working from home life as well. I wasn't a great one for. I always like to be in the office and be as close to people as possible, and but I'm adapting to that quite well. And I think, you know. Yeah, I guess it is. They're sort of challenging times at the moment for everybody for different reasons, you know. So we're very fortunate. I feel anyway, very fortunate, you know, with the company that we're working for, with the type of customers that we have, and you know, that everybody's safe and well, which is really important. I think I think that what's happened lately has really shown the best of people, you know, especially younger people as well, you know, that it is. People, you know, sometimes people can feel if this doesn't affect me, well, why should I? So I think sometimes it's really brought out the good in people, and maybe that's, who knows, maybe we'll stop and reflect after it's all over to see, well, so what are our actual values and our kind of what's really important to us. Maybe we lost sight of that a little bit too along the way. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think. You know, I suppose what do I like to do outside of work? I mean, music is a big thing for me, I suppose, and you know, I'm missing, you know, not going to concerts. I don't know when we're going to be back in that space. Although I've seen people adapting as well, being kind of innovative and having, you know, live concerts from home and using technology to their advantage. So I've been enjoying a little bit of that too. I'm trying to stay away from the Netflix binging and going down that rabbit hole as much as possible. So yeah, maybe after this I'll take up a new hobby. Maybe I'll take up or try to concentrate on my baking or something like that. Maybe I'll set myself
or new language, maybe.
Well, maybe actually, there you go. Maybe I'll try a new language. Why don't I do that? Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. And it's already the end of today's show with Alan. Alan Duffy, the localization manager at Vistatec. So please make sure to tune in again for more VistaTalks show and to listen to this interview. And obviously, we'll be discussing more interesting discussion with interesting people from all around the world. Thank you.